Welcome to the Horror Next Door. This is our favorite new horror trailers from November 2023. If you like this video, would you kindly subscribe?
Imaginary. A woman returns to her childhood home to discover that the imaginary friend she left behind is very real and unhappy that she abandoned him.
Imaginary apparently stars Tom Paine, who you might know as Jesus from The Walking Dead, and also Betty Buckley, who you might remember from the 1976 original Carrie. Imaginary releases March 2024.
After the October rush of horror films, we didn't find a whole lot that we thought was worth talking about for November. That's not to say I find this trailer terrible or anything. Obviously, I'm interested in it, or otherwise we wouldn't talk about it. But there are just some semi-cliche things in this that irk me slightly. I'm just getting really sick of all the same horror movie tropes over and over. Having said that, the teddy bear's cute, and we all know it's probably just some kind of device or tool or whatever you want to call it that a demon or some other kind of supernatural entity is using to gain access to this child, possibly trying to possess her or control her to get revenge on his former owner. I do think there are things about this that look interesting, and I look forward to seeing it just because I'm hoping that the teddy bear does more than just move its head around. I would love to see if it would run around like Chucky or something along those lines. And at this point, seeing the full explanation, it's just got me curious, really. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know where it's gonna go, but hey, who knows? Maybe I could be surprised. So as far as the aforementioned cliches go, I just thought I would throw out there that we again have another small item or person at the other end of a hallway, and as it comes closer to the camera or the other character involved in the scene, it suddenly becomes very large. I first saw that trick or idea or scare or whatever you want to call it in 1977's Shock, which is a Mario Bava film, and it actually is a very shocking and cool moment. I'm just getting a little bit sick of it getting ripped off over and over and over. And I think, A, they should not have put that in the trailer because I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of the best scares in the movie. And B, it's probably one of the most poorly done copies of that scene from Shock that I've ever seen. So I'm sorry to be a little bit of a negative Nancy. Overall, obviously, like I said, I look forward to seeing this. I doubt I'm going to prioritize it, but it's got enough of my interest and the teddy bear's cute.
So I know that Blumhouse films are rather hit or miss recently. I feel like when they first came on the scene and started releasing movies, they were much better. I mean, yeah, they did release some sequels here and there that really weren't all that great. But I feel like as the years have gone by, they are kind of just releasing these cookie cutter type horror films. Like they have this formula that they've figured out, and every movie kind of follows this same formula. And they do very well because horror movies can be made with smaller budgets. Most of their movies are very profitable because of that, which gives them the resources to just crank these movies out. It seems like Blumhouse is constantly churning out movies. I think what Blumhouse is doing is great. At least there's somebody out there still churning out horror movies. Horror is not dead. Horror is still alive. I just feel as though some of the movies are rather cookie cutter. That's just probably the best way I can explain it. Based on this trailer, there's nothing crazy going on. There's nothing groundbreaking, but Imaginary still stood out as just a fun-looking horror film. I'm hoping that maybe there's just some surprises that we will see when we finally get to watch the full movie that they're keeping from us. And speaking of surprises, there is that one shot in the trailer where you get to see like a frame or two frames of some kind of monster. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. It just looks like a giant teddy bear with crazy teeth and stuff. I'm not sure if that's just going to be a jump scare in the movie or if we're actually going to see more of that and it's going to like be moving around and shit. I don't know. Is it going to change into other kind of monsters? I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to find out, but it does have my interest and it does pique my curiosity to find out what the fuck is going on. Chauncey is a cute little scruff of a teddy bear, and I really can't wait to see all the craziness that hopefully this movie will bring.
Terrifier 3. Art the Clown is set to unleash chaos on the unsuspecting residents of Miles County as they peacefully drift off to sleep on Christmas Eve.
Damien Leone, who, if you don't know, wrote and directed the first 2 Terrifier films, is back once again to write and direct Terrifier 3. David Howard Thornton will return as Art the Clown. Also, Lauren Lavera and Elliot Fulham return from Terrifier 2 to reprise their roles in Terrifier 3. Terrifier 3 is expected to release in October of 2024.
Just when you thought you wouldn't hear me talk about Terrifier and Art the Clown again, the Terrifier 3 teaser gets dropped. I didn't get to go see Terrifier 2 again when it was re-released a little bit earlier this year. I'm so grateful I got to see it upon its first theatrical release, and I'm really excited about how well that it did and the fact that Damien Leone and his crew have the funds and popularity and opportunity to continue making these. Having a Terrifier movie set at Christmas is crazy. It's so different. Obviously, very used to associating Art with Halloween, and seeing him in the Santa costume and everything was just wild. I have no clue what to expect. I mean, obviously this is just a teaser, but I can't wait to see it. I will be there as soon as it comes out in theaters. You can guarantee it. I guess one thing I took away from this, or that I thought about after the fact, is whether or not Art is going to actually on camera harm children now. I think the only time there was a very little kid, like the one in this teaser, was the boy in Terrifier 2 with the cereal, but that was like a weird dream thing, and they didn't actually indicate that Art necessarily did anything to that kid or whatever, so that actually disturbed me a little bit. And it might take Art over back into creepy clown territory for me, because I have stated in prior videos I've had issues with clowns ever since I was a kid. They kind of freak me out most of the time, and Art never really did that for me. Of course, he's freaky and scary, but I like him at the same time. I think he's an awesome character, so it's gonna be really wild if all of a sudden he freaks me out. Anyway, I've talked about Terrifier 1 and 2 a bunch of times on the channel, so I won't keep going on and on about it, especially because obviously there's not a whole lot to talk about just on the short little teaser. Just know how excited I am, obviously. Really stoked that Lauren Lavera and Elliot Fulham are coming back and we get to see more of their story, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they incorporate them back into the story again.
So I've said it before and I'll say it again. We usually do not talk about teaser trailers. We usually wait to see the full trailer and then decide whether or not we want to talk about it here on the channel. But November was a very, very slow month for horror movie trailers, and I honestly cannot be more excited. If you've been following us here on the channel for a while, you will probably know that when I got done watching the original Terrifier, I really wasn't that big of a fan. I don't know, there was something about it that I liked, but then there was something about it I just didn't care about. I gave it another shot and I watched it again and it just clicked. Something clicked in me and I said, you know what? This movie is awesome. And it kind of got me pumped for the second one, and going and seeing the second one in the theater was even better than watching it at home. And the second one, in my opinion, was superior to the first one. They're both great, don't get me wrong, but I really feel like Terrifier 2 is just on a whole other level. I can't be any more excited for Terrifier 3, and in the fact that they're making this take place around Christmas time, I cannot wait to see what ridiculous shit is going to go down with Art the Clown during Christmas. Since there really isn't a whole lot of stuff to talk about with this teaser trailer, there's actually two things that I just wanted to add here since we're talking about Terrifier 3. The first thing that I wanted to share is Damien Leone, the writer-director, shared in an interview recently that several big studios contacted him for financing Terrifier 3 after the success of Terrifier 2, even without ever writing a page of a Terrifier 3 script. Damien Leone went on to say that he turned down all the studios because he was certain that none of them would let him film the opening scene alone. And he describes this opening scene as very controversial. I have to applaud him for this. The fact that he's going to remain independent and finance it himself and do all the special effects and everything himself, to turn down all the big studio stuff and all the money and all that crap, to turn all of that down, to not ruin his vision of what he wants to do creatively with Terrifier 3, I think is awesome and just very commendable. And I feel like we all should give him a round of applause for that. He's not going to compromise the quality that you would expect from a Terrifier movie just to be released by some big studio name. The other thing that I wanted to add real quick is, in another interview, Damien Leone mentioned that if he could remake just one slasher movie, it would be Friday the 13th. He also went on to say that Jason was one of his favorite slashers since he was a kid, and that his approach to the film would be to keep the movie in the 80s and make Jason as scary as possible. One of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up, obviously, for me being a Friday the 13th fan and now a Terrifier fan, but I also wanted to bring it up because I noticed in the comments, a lot of people were divided on this. A lot of people were saying, no, keep him away from the Friday the 13th series. Don't let him touch it. He's just going to ruin it and yada, yada, yada. And other people were saying, screw it, bring it on. I'm actually right there. I think, screw it, bring it on. He has already proven himself as a competent director and a great special effects artist. There hasn't been a Friday the 13th sequel since 2009. We're due for one. Not only that, this would be the 13th Friday the 13th film. So let's do it. Come on. Let's go. I think this should be a no-brainer if you ask me. I think when he's done with Terrifier 3, go right into a Friday the 13th movie. If he's a fan of Jason, I would have no problem with him taking the reins and just going and doing his thing. To me, that's better than just giving the movie to some director that has no idea who Jason is, has never seen any of the Friday the 13th movies. I hate when I see these behind the scenes things and they're talking to the directors and they're like, I've never seen any of these movies, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's great and all, but why not give it to somebody who has seen them all? Somebody who is a fan. I just think that he would be able to pull it off, in my opinion. But let's see what Hellcat thinks about it.
As far as Damien Leone expressing interest in making a Friday the 13th film, I think that would be amazing, because one of the most standout things about the Friday the 13th films is the fact that it's a crazed killer going around killing. And some of the most popular things in that series are the kills and the death scenes. To think about Damien Leone's style of special effects and capabilities in that arena being a part of a new Friday the 13th just sounds like it would be so freaking awesome. While I am not the biggest Friday the 13th fan on earth, I think that Jason is by far and away one of the most iconic and legendary horror icons that we have. And it just seems like the passion and dedication that Damien has to horror would mean that we would probably end up with something pretty fucking cool. We can't go on with Art the Clown forever, and I think that Damien Leone has shown that he, as I said, has a lot of dedication, also a lot of talent, and just a lot of horror knowledge. So if all this legal crap can finally get worked out and we actually get something, why not Damien? I'm for it.
Let us know in the comments what you think of Damien Leone directing a Friday the 13th.
As always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment letting us know your thoughts on these trailers, all of which will be linked below along with our store and social media pages. Until next time!